Shit. Here we go again. Welcome back to another episode of the Twinbill Podcast, brought to you by NyynewsTV. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share out as well. Turn on that notification bell so you know when game season is live, a live chat is live, a podcast is live, or a video comes out overall. We haven't done this in a while. We haven't done a recorded podcast in a while. It's usually much more fun, of course, with you guys in the live chat, and I bet we will be in the premiere chat. But with that being said, Pete is going to the Flying Squirrels versus Somerset Patriots game, so he will not be able to coordinate and be the admin of a live podcast. However, we still have stuff to talk about. We still have some fillers. The Yankees lost to the Mets in game one, which I'm not so happy about, and game two isn't necessarily giving me the greatest of vibes. We'll talk about some rumors in the countdown to the deadline. We'll talk about a little bit about the Somerset story. And I know, obviously, Pete gave a vague version of it, but we'll go a little bit into detail. And then at the end, we'll predict who the Yankees are going to get, who they'll miss out on at the deadline. But, Luca, how are you feeling about the Yankees? I know they obviously won that series against the O's, had that off day. And, well, game one versus the Mets, you don't feel positive.
I don't really feel positive about the second half, Alex. Like, it started off miserably because that Thursday with the doubleheader, it seemed like they kind of mailed it in. I said it from the beginning. Like, that first game we lost, obviously, but the second game with German pitching in that C lineup, it looked like they were just going to mail it in. So be it. We're going to lay back and we're not going to compete. I don't like that whatsoever. It even sucks that German's going to be starting on Wednesday. I know this is going to be coming out on the same day, but starting German seems like a laid-back move, like we'll take the loss. I don't like the mentality whatsoever. I don't. Especially when you have to chase the Astros for the first seed in the American League. Because, again, the first seed determines home field advantage. Do you want if the Yankees somehow play the Astros, they probably will. If they get past the American League Division Series, do you want them with the home field advantage? I think I want the Yankees with the home field advantage, obviously, but right now they just can't compete with the Astros. Right now, everybody's going to go out and say with the whole Mets loss, oh, the Mets are run New York, they're the better team, this and this, Yankee fans sound, whatever. The Mets are a good team, not going to lie to you, but I also think that the Yankees are a better team. I think the Mets bullpen is worse than the Yankees. The Mets have a worse catcher position. There's nobody there that has a good enough bat. But could I say they're more balanced? Yeah, a little bit. But I also do think the Mets need some pop. Still, I know they're working on a Mancini deal, but regardless, the Yankees shot themselves in the foot today. Runners in scoring position, bad plays in the field. Jordan Montgomery shitting the bed in the first inning. So that pretty much summarizes what the Mets loss looked like. I don't care about the Orioles series. I think we should have swept them. Even with Garrett Cole's piss poor performance, I think they should have swept them. But they blew it.
Yeah, I'm a little weirded out by some fans' reaction. And I now have some friends that are really defenders of Jordan Montgomery. And people were like, oh, well, nobody says anything if Montgomery pitches good like he did against the Astros, but everybody's up in arms about this Mets loss. And I'm like, if Montgomery isn't an issue, if everybody gets on our people, because I know a lot of folks got on Chris Stacy of NYYST for giving Cole a C grade on the year so far. If he's not the issue and we're overreacting, what's the reason for Luis Castillo? Why is everybody saying Luis Castillo?
Exactly.
We don't know with Sevy. Like, when is he coming back? I haven't heard anything. Maybe I'm just deaf tone to that stuff because I'm like, Sevy's been injured before. How long is this going to last? I'm not necessarily happy that the New York Yankees kind of shaded from us that Giancarlo Stanton was hurt. We all knew it. I said it. You probably said it. I know on Sunday, Matt Riley said it. One of our good friends that came with us to Somerset, he's like, Stan's probably hurt. So, if anything, at least in that scenario.
I got to interrupt you there. I think, if you mention that Stan goes in the IL or like he's somewhat hurt, what did they say? That he was tired, that he was a little exhausted. Okay. I think it's called a leverage move. I'll tell you exactly why.
Okay.
If the Yankees go out and say that Stanton's hurt, like before that they placed him on the IL, I think it raises the asking price for Benintendi, for a Bryant Reynolds. It just decreases their leverage.
But what about now, though?
I understand. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just trying to summarize it from a
right.
Yankee.
No, I understand, but it's a weird position to be in. It's a weird situation because I understand your point. But what about now? What if they just kept him on the bench and they said they were resting him? It's a tough situation to be in, and there's no right way if you're a manager or if you're a member of the Yankees organization trying to spew it out to the media. But I also don't think that having an outfield besides Judge, you have either Carpenter and Wright, Gallo, or Hicks. This game, ultimately, in my personal opinion, has to wake up Brian Cashman. He has to do some calls. We haven't obviously seen any big trades yet. We won't get that for a couple of days, and I will be patient. But this has to tell you, besides our pitching in the bullpen, which you can pick up a low-key arm and turn into a better arm like Clay Holmes or Ron Marinaccio, whoever, but you have to get an established starter, and you also have to get an established bet. You can't go under with that stuff. But it's in terms of starting pitching, I'm just worried. I really am. And the fact that, you could say, well, JP Sears pitched the other day, which I believe he did. Is that correct, Luca? How many days ago did he pitch, if you remember?
I can't remember, but it was in very short relief.
Did they send him back down?
I don't think they did. Let me check the active roster. I mean, putting JP Sears out there, or Clark Schmidt rather, because he is up here since he came off the injured list, is putting in a more competitive game than Domingo German. Sears is not on the roster.
So that answers my question. And this is what I was talking about. I'm not trying to say I'm right about these types of things, but I've said it on live Twin Bills at least 70 times. The Yankees are going to have this problem when they come back with all these arms and all these unknowns and, Chapman and German. They're going to not do anything with them, so they're going to be forced to be put in roles. German, he blew up the second Astros game. I bet you he does the same bullshit against
the Mets.
New York Mets.
Good luck. But let me just say the lineup, good luck. You're facing Max Scherzer, by the way.
And here's the thing. I saw something on Twitter that's like, oh, well, I get it. You could rest Stan for now, but October matters, not now matters. Here's why I will object to that. You need to keep as much of a lead over the Astros as possible. You cannot be mailing in games like you have been over the last few days. You could really say that Orioles game was mailed in after the whole explosion. Shane
Green. That's, again, we're all happy to, nostalgia, but that's essentially like a revival project. The guy hadn't pitched in like a year, maybe. I don't know. He was in AAA, and he wasn't even in AAA either. But that's, again, a reclamation project. You don't test that out in a very close game you're trying to win.
No, absolutely correct. And it's not like, we're the Mets and we're in their position where they have a 2-game lead over the Braves. But essentially, put that in our situation, it's alike at the same time because we have a 2-game lead over the Astros in terms of the first seed. Maybe 1.5 or 2.5, but that's not long enough. And I know we can't put too much of a rush on these particular moves that the Yankees may or may not make. But going out there and not calling up a guy like Florio, and once again, I know, what if the trade value goes to shit and all this stuff? But Tim LeCastro, is he really going to play the outfield on a is he really going to be out there? You could make your qualms and points about Aaron Hicks being the fourth outfielder once we get another outfielder and once Stanton becomes healthy. But should he really be starting this many games? Joey Gallo, we think he's going to get traded soon. But should he be in meaningful games? No. And I really don't like, and I get it, everybody goes on IKF a lot, and I go on IKF a lot. But I would have kept IKF in there against against Edwin Diaz for Joey Gallo. I don't know what anyone was thinking.
Hold on. I'll disagree there. I don't disagree with your point saying we shouldn't have pinch hit had Joey Gallo bat, but I don't think Diaz is in there unless I don't think Diaz is in there when IKF bats. Whoever was in there, it was Ottavino, right? It was Ottavino. It would have been Ottavino versus IKF. And they put in Gallo. Buck Showalter says, you know what? I'm going to counter that move. I'm bringing my power reliever Diaz. I'm sorry. Everybody was saying Heyman, Sherman, all these different guys with the blue check marks. That was probably the most predictable strikeout ever.
Heyman said, and I don't give Heyman too much credit, but he said 2 strikeout kings are at the plate. We all predicted 100 times out of 100 that that's going to be a strikeout. There's always that 0.1% chance he hits it out of the park. But up to that point, Ottavino was walking dudes. And we know IKF isn't necessarily much of a walker, hit base hits and whatever. But I just didn't understand that. He struck out on 4 pitches almost? Something along the lines of that. And next up, you had Trevino. And what I didn't understand as well is they replaced him with Marwin Gonzalez. Now, could they still have brought in what's his face? Edwin Diaz if Marwin Gonzalez was up? Yeah. But would I have more confidence in Marwin Gonzalez than Joey Gallo? Yeah, I would. I mean, I don't know who else is on the bench. LeCastro, he's not going to get the job done. He's not really that type of guy.
He's a pinch runner.
But it's just weird. It's a two-sided thing with the Yankees. And once again, people will see us as the complainers and all this other shit. But coming into this game, they rested Gallo. They put Carpenter in the outfield. And Carpenter isn't a great outfielder. There was, when we went to that Reds game, he stuttered when going home. He hesitated. That's not something you do as an outfielder.
He's not an everyday outfielder. Let him play the infield. Sure, he can play the outfield, but he's not. That's not somewhere you put him every day.
And here's the thing that comes with that as well. And it goes back to my point of, you got to call up Florial or at least an experienced outfielder to play the outfield. On that play, Carpenter, and I know this was like 2 weeks ago, he needs to get his crow hop ready and throw home. And he needed to anticipate, and I'm not going to rip Matt Carpenter too much because he's been a saint with the Yankees so far, at least with the bat. You need to anticipate that, look, you're not Aaron Judge, you're not Giancarlo Stanton, so they will run on you. But his inexperience, I don't know why they put him in right field that day. He had a home run, but it was just a weird move. And let me say something. After the series, they go against Kansas City. And it would be weird, actually, if they trade Benintendi and then he goes just right across the locker room, goes with the Yankees.
I kind of disagree. I'll tell you why. I think I remember the scenario back in 2012 at the deadline. The Yankees acquired Ichiro. I think the next day, Ichiro played against his former team. That's me trying to remember. I don't remember it completely, but I do remember it was on that day. I think in Seattle they announced Ichiro was coming to be come into the Yankees.
Okay, so make different scenarios as they are. But what I will say they got Kansas City for 4 games. Whether they trade for somebody or not, they have a rather difficult August.
Oh yeah, they do. I checked the schedule. It's brutal.
Seattle. And I thought Seattle was going to be a breeze because we're going to one of the games. I thought Seattle was going to be a breeze. That's not the case anymore. They are second place.
They're up 2-1 on the Rangers right now. Just saying.
They got 3 games against Seattle. They got 3 games in St. Louis. not in Seattle, but against Seattle. After St. Louis, they make a trip all the way out to the West Coast, 3 games in Seattle. Then they go 3 games in Boston. They do have an off day, but 3 games in Boston. I'm a little scared about it.
They couldn't take the series in July. That's what kind of worries me. They should have taken the series before the All-Star break, whether it was 3-1 or a complete sweep. And we put our guard down.
Here's what I'll say about this. Here's what I'll say about the whole Boston thing. I know Boston's collapsing right now. There's no, way around.
They're defunct.
They're a defunct team, and I think they're in 4th place right now, maybe even 5th. I don't know. I actually have the standings right here. Right now, they're in 5th place. They are at 500, which was a point that they were at in the beginning of the season. Yeah, they're a bad team, but do not hesitate to think that they will use us as a rebound. The American League East, outside of the Yankees, is very competitive. Now,
it's wide open almost. Not the top, but, the wild card spots.
Right. Boston right now is 3.5 out of a wild card. That's not too... Now, I don't know their schedule, but that's not too far-fetched. Because right now, the top spots are Toronto and Tampa. Then you got Seattle. I think they could breeze by Cleveland. I think they could eventually breeze by Baltimore. And same thing with the White Sox. I mean, I didn't even know the White Sox became over 500, but I don't think they're going to be doing anything. I think it's way too late in the season. So don't hesitate to think that they won't use us as a rebound. Then
don't
after
underestimate.
That, yeah, exactly. Then after that, it's 3 games at home against Tampa Bay, which we've done well against them this season. There is no lie to that. Then Toronto. Now, we've talked about Toronto in many cases before as falling down, but there's times where we've underestimated them and they've come and, taken a series or possibly even, lower than that. They've split a series with us. So they get that series. Then it's against the Mets at the stadium on Monday, Tuesday. They better sweep Oakland. Then they go out to LA for 2 games. And to start the month of September, they're in Tampa, and then they come back against Minnesota, come back against Tampa Bay, and then at Boston, at Milwaukee, which is a really late series in the season. But it's a tough road in terms of the teams that you're facing over 500. And I'm not going to say, well, the Yankees haven't beat good teams, because that would be a bullshit statement by myself. That would be a bullshit statement, and it is a bullshit statement. But to not sweep the Orioles when it was a very winnable game, to not win against the Mets in a very winnable game. They were up 2-0 in the first inning, and Monty gave it away.
As everybody else prefaces this on Twitter, I do not want to hear about Jordan Montgomery and run support anymore. If anything, he pitches better without run support because he keeps the game really close.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that point there. Who gave up the 1 run late in the game?
Abreu, because they didn't walk. Again, that's one of my critiques on this game when it comes to managing. I think Matt Ehalt tweeted out the Yankees still have a problem in the dugout with Aaron Boone, meaning that he's, obviously fugazi, whatever you want to call it. He's still error prone. I didn't like, you had McNeil on 3-1. He's one of the best. He's one of the more underrated hitters in the game. He'll drive it to the opposite field. He'll drive in runs with 2 outs. You have runners in the corners, 2 outs. Albert Abreu pitching. Why do you not walk him there?
And after Jeff McNeil is J.D. Davis.
Exactly.
He's hitting 236 on the season. I mean,
he's terrible this season.
0 for 8 with runners in scoring position.
That's another killer. A lot of terrible ABs. Look at the 9th inning. LeMahieu swinging at bullshit pitches.
That was
Aaron Judge lucky to get on. Okay. Anthony Rizzo striking out. Gleyber Torres, even worse, striking out on 3 pitches. Non-competitive at-bats with runners in scoring position. And this has not been a thing just now. It's been since the All-Star break. Even, I guess you could say, dating back to the Boston series before the break. Not even the home series. Yeah, the home series too. the first game of that series and the Boston series where we should have realistically swept them. We need to get, acquisitions that can hit with runners in scoring position. We need to improve in that area. That's why I'm a big Benintendi fan. He hits 292 in that situation.
Yeah, and I believe that he actually would pop at Yankee Stadium with the short porch. I think he could possibly, he's got 3 home runs on the season. Second half. And
guy's hitting like 327.
Yeah, in like 2 months, maybe he gets up to 10, maybe 15 home runs. Like, maybe that's an overstretch. But people could say, well, Boone doesn't have a choice in that matter in terms of who he goes to. I mean, I don't know. I'm just so irritated right now, and
I'm puzzled.
And here's the thing too. I hate to say that one of the Mets fans are right. Now, I do have Mets fans that do follow me on the Twitter platform because they're Giant fans as well, and sometimes there are followbacks for followbacks. After the 2 home runs, this Mets fan goes, the Yankees hit home runs because that's all they can do. The Yankees were 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. And other than, what was the other run that they had?
I think it was like a double or something like that. Let me get to the box score. I think I have it available.
It was a LeMahieu thing.
Let's see. Let's go to the wrap here.
Ground out.
It was a ground out. Right.
So, and there are things where you could take a chance on, in my opinion. There are things where you can take a chance on. Now, of course, sometimes it's in the moment, and you're like, okay, well, I understand that. Do you think that – well, actually, no. Let me start over. Would you second guess, based on revisionist history, would you second guess Rizzo hitting 3-0 with the bases loaded?
Yes, I still do. I
mean, he's a power hitter, but they were down.
Here's the thing.
5-3.
I get it. People say, oh, it's 2 outs, this, and this. The guy who I think it was Ottavino pitching, right? I think it was still Taiwan Walker. I'm still trying to think. The guy wasn't throwing strikes at all. You wait for your pitch. I get it. 3-0, you want to be aggressive, but it just didn't seem like the pitch. You wait for that strike. You wait for strike 1. Sure, it might have been the best pitch the at-bat. I just still disagree there. I don't give him the green light there because you have 2 outs. It's not like 1 out where you hit a deep sac fly and one of the runners score. It's not that situation. I wouldn't have given him the green light.
Yeah, you're down in that situation. It's not like it's 6-0, 3-0, hit a home run, and the other manager gets mad at you. You're down, 5-3 at that point? So, I mean, I just feel like Rizzo's been struggling outside of that home run. And
he has. It's a little concerning.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this question, and we'll get into trade rumors maybe in a little bit. Based on this game, calling-wise, and some of the later mistakes maybe factor in hitting as well. Are you concerned that Trevino's not a full-time catcher? Now, of course, we're going to have people come at us if they watch this podcast, be like, oh, well, Trevino's the best thing since popcorn. We get it. He was an all-star. But I want to hear your thoughts, Luca.
I still think he can call a game, but I do think he needs a better running mate behind him. Like Ken Rosenthal mentioned this. I think it was another team. The Mets and the Yankees were all interested in Sean Murphy. If you get a better running mate behind him, it just makes everything better for the pitchers, and it puts a little more pressure on Trevino to perform at the plate.
And let me say this as well. The Miami Marlins are having a fire sale.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm getting at?
Jacob Stallings. He hasn't had the greatest year offensively, so.
I don't care about that.
You don't?
No, I do not.
I honestly prefer Sean Murphy in this situation when it comes to offensive production because here's the thing. You want
the stats.
Okay,
once
I have the stats.
Explain I have the point.
Higashioka's just a black hole. Like first of all, he does 2 things wrong, in my opinion. Is he good defensively? Yeah, he's solid, but he doesn't frame well. A, B, he does not call a game well. C, he's a black hole in the lineup whenever you play him. Even if it's once a week, he's going to get out. and he either pops up or strikes out. I'm going to present you Sean Murphy's stats and why I think we need a little bit on the offensive end. Sure, Stallings is a great defensive catcher, but I think Murphy, fits what we need a little bit. Sean Murphy this season, 11 home runs, 40 RBIs, 244 batting average, 322 OBP, and a 748 OPS. With that, 300 in the last 7 games, and with runners in scoring position, may I add, runners in scoring position. Let's see.
Usually Yahoo has that, but
he's 203. But you know what? That's not my main concern with the catcher's position. They'll be deep down in the lineup. The guys that will get the runners home will be through the middle or top of the order. He gives me a little more offensive potency, essentially.
Yeah. By the way, we have that 10 minutes thing again. So if we go to like 2 minutes, and I'll make sure Pete edits this out, of course. If we go to like 2 minutes, I'll end the meeting. We'll go on to another subject, whatever. With that being said, you brought up some, very good points about Sean Murphy. Would you be mad if they got Stallings, though?
If he's better than Higashioka offensively and I can value him, yes. I think Stallings is like an excellent defensive catcher, framer, all that, so I wouldn't mind it completely. Maybe he couldn't call a game better. I mean, hell, look at the year Sandy Alcantara is having.
See, here's the thing with that. I understand the angle you're looking at, and I feel like you have good points, definitely. You wouldn't need to worry about Stallings not hitting if the Yankees did their job. If they went to get another third baseman or just kept Gio Urshela. And you could still get Benintendi or maybe even a Juan Soto. Juan Soto really, he kind of muffles any offensive inconsistencies that Jacob Stallings may have, but more in the Cashman type realism. Benintendi, in my opinion, is not going to be able to shade out the Stallings offensive consistencies and same thing with Higgy. And the thing what you'll get with that is the inconsistencies in terms of the decision making. Right. You will still have Hicks playing the outfield, and they're not trading for 2 outfielders. We may not see Stanton until late August, early September.
Right. So Hicks Achilles tendonitis.
Didn't Chapman have that?
Yeah, I swore he did.
Okay. So you'll have Hicks play meaningful games. And I understand, yes, he's been down. He's been good down the stretch thus far. I'm not going to bet on that, though. Carpenter, he's not really an outfielder. Marwin, not really an outfielder. So you will still have Hicks and Gallo. Well, I mean, Gallo, if he gets traded, hopefully he does. I'm pretty sure on that. But if he doesn't get traded or if they keep LeCastro up, you really don't want those guys playing meaningful reps. But that's what's going to happen. So that's why the offensive inconsistent we see worries. I could see, obviously, you have with Stallings and how it gets mixed up into the lineup. So you said the Mets, the Yankees, and one other team are interested in him in terms of Murphy? Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Would you try to get anybody on the Marlins other than Jacob Stallings?
Pablo Lopez, I'm a fan of personally. I think he's the number 2 to Sandy Alcantara, but I think he's a very good pitcher as well. Like he's one of those. Yeah, obviously the target is Castillo, but I think he's like a second or valuable third option.
You want to look up the stats?
All right, so let me get you Pablo Lopez's stats at the moment. I think he's like 6-5 or something like that. He has an ERA. He actually pitched today, by the way. Pitched 11. He struck out 11 Reds today, so that probably boosts his trade stock even more. So, on the season, 118 strikeouts over 116 innings, 7-5 with a 3.03 ERA, 1.04 WHIP. What else? 205 opposing batting average, groundouts to airouts 1.38. Let me see the strikeouts per walk, think I have it here. Strikeouts per walk, 3.37. Ks per 9 innings, 9.16.
Okay.
He's
Right
also
now,
held. Let me also say he's also held. He's also held batters to their lowest on base percentage opposing in his career. So this is like his best year, and I think he
okay.
can get better.
Okay. So right now in comparison, Monty has a 2.36 batting average against. So as long as in due time it makes sense. And
Right.
thing with Lopez is I don't know how much control you get over the next few years. But Monty's a free agent year after this, year after next, and then you got Taya next year, and then maybe some guys from the rotation, bullpen fill it in. But I don't see that as a bad move. Maybe some other moves that come from that bullpen or whatever part.
Let me also say the Tigers are also having a fire sale.
Yeah, they are.
Let me also just say I looked up his baseball savant page. Jacob Stallings is not even having a good year defensively. So here you got the statistics here. -6 catcher framing runs and a 45.3% catch strike rate, which is kind of below average. It's in the blue color. So a comparison to Sean Murphy, +6 catcher framing runs. This is an actual stat, by the way, recorded by MLB.com as well. Trevino is the league leader. Jonah Heim second. What about Jonah Heim, Alex? What do you think of him?
We don't even know if the Rangers are selling, in my opinion.
You don't think they will?
Weren't we talking about the Rangers being in contention for Soto or someone else? I know it's speculation and it's just all of us talking and, whether it was me, you, or Donald or whatever, and just teams that would go after Soto. But didn't somebody bring up the Rangers? Because I don't think they're selling. A, Jonah Heim's been great for them. B, they got all the money invested in Seager, Gray,
Marcus
Semien with Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter coming up in the next few years. So I think it's in their best interest that they should keep a catcher who calls the game good and he's got offensive production to stay on the roster with the young cats coming up and John Gray. Hopefully he finds himself the fuck out. So I don't see them selling, but Sean Murphy was a Gold Glove in 21, but I'm surprised you look at Baseball Savant.
Yeah, it's like I kind of find a little like I don't look at the percentiles, like how they say whiff percentage, this and this and this. I look deeper when it comes to fielding. I actually kind of found this just right now with the catcher frame runs, the strike rate. Strike rate's better than Jacob Stallings. The catcher frame runs is better than Jacob Stallings. The pop time to second base is better than Jacob Stallings. So I think Sean Murphy's had the better defensive year, and he's also had better offensive production. In reference to what I just said before, Alex, the Tigers are also hit the sell button. The Tigers, they spent big on Javier Baez. They also spent big on Eduardo Rodriguez. I don't know how they're doing personally, but I haven't heard, but I look at these three names that I've been staring at since, the rumors, since before. I look at three guys for the bullpen for the Yankees. I have Gregory Soto, I have Andrew Chaffee, I have Michael Fulmer as well. So I'm going to go with these stats here. Chaffee, I think he's controllable till about next year. So he might just be a rental. He might not be. 0-1, 2.64 ERA, 1 save, 30.2 in thirds innings, 37 strikeouts in 36 games. He's been used a lot. 1.8 whip. Going down to his further stats, a 214 opposing average with 24 hits in 30.2 innings, 1.07 groundouts to airouts, 1.08 whip. With that, let's see here. The K strikeouts per 9 innings is 10.86, walks per 9 innings is 2.64, and the hits per 9 innings is about 7.04. So I guess you can kind of call it a little concerning. Home runs per 9 innings, he doesn't give up the long ball line, and strikeouts per walk 4.11. So what are your thoughts on Andrew Chaffee before I go to the next player?
I've always had a liking for Andrew Chaffee, at least this year. When the bullpen started struggling, I started looking at names, and I'm like, Andrew Chafin is one of the guys that stands out to me. And my question always was, well, are the Detroit Tigers going to be selling? They invested in Eduardo Rodriguez. They invested in Javi Baez. They also traded for Tucker Barnhart. So are they going to be selling? And now that report came out that the Miami Marlins and the Detroit Tigers are selling, Well, the Yankees, in my opinion, should go get two relievers. There are some pretty good names on that list. You mentioned Gregory Soto, Andrew Chafin, as I mentioned, who I've had my eyes on, and Michael Fulmer, who used to be a starter, was one of the guys that actually did start that infamous 2017 brawl. But with that being said, he's had some pretty good stats over the years. I'm pretty sure he was an all-star this year. Maybe, maybe not, but
Who's that?
Fulmer, maybe. I know
I
he's
know
been.
Soto was a two-time All-Star this year and last year. So let me look at Fulmer.
He's had some acknowledgments and some awards over the last few
Fulmer was
years.
an All-Star back in 2017. That's when he still was a starter.
Okay, so I was a little bit wrong on that one, but he's still got some good stats on the year. That technically is their closer, so I don't know that they would trade him. It depends, once again, on their long-term vision. On the other hand, he is a free agent next year. So if the Yankees want to pull somebody, into that closer role and they don't feel comfortable with Loizaga, which I don't want to say that Loizaga was a super one-year wonder, but you can't take any chances at this point. So I would get a guy like Fulmer, maybe put him in a setup role. Same thing could be said with Gregory Soto, like late innings guy. And I think, really need another lefty. Andrew Chafin does fit the mold because Wandy Peralta is one of the lefties coming out of the pen, and that's it. JP Sears, yes, but
He's down in AAA.
He goes up and down and up and down. So that's not really,
You're missing Lucas Lidke as well.
That's not reliable. That's not reliable right there. That's
and Aroldis Chapman.
That's not, again, not going to tell you again, that's not reliable. That's not reliable. So Andrew Chafin, Gregory Soto, pick two out of the hat. Brian Cashman, pick two out of the hat.
Also, Gregory Soto, actually, let me give you his pitch types, by the way. I know we're on Chafin, but four-seam fastball, a sinker ball pitcher, which the Yankees love their sinker ball pitchers. You have Wandy, you have Clay Holmes, who mastered the sinker ball. I think he fits right in. He actually throws it 37% of the time compared to his fastball, 40% of the time. Soto has a very nice slider, throws about 20% of the time, and changeup really hasn't been used a lot this season. That he's only thrown so many pitches in there. So put away percentage, the fastball has the highest, but second is going to be the sinker at 11.6%. So awesome stuff. Opposing batting average, the fastball, again, is the less hit. Same with the sinker, comes in second. So love the numbers there when it comes to fastball sinker. Good to overpower somebody and good to get contact outs as well.
I think we have Talking Luca right here.
Talking Luca?
Yes, that's your
and the whiff percentage on the four-seam fastball is around 30%. So I really like that a lot. Slider is very much whiffed on as well, but it's used to a lesser extent. So you got to measure out the numbers too. So I really like what Gregory Soto's about.
Isn't Chafin a sinker pitcher as well?
All right, I'll get to Chaffee right now. Now, he really ranks high amongst the MLB percentile rankings per Baseball Savant. I know Alex hates that as much as anybody. So let me get to his pitches. Sinker is his primary pitch. The second is the slider. The third is the fastball. He does use a changeup, but it's not. I think he's only thrown one changeup this year, apparently, according to this. But so let's look at the numbers. Whiff percentage. The slider holds the crown for the whiff percentage, 60.2%. Whiff percentage. Put away percentage, 26.7%. The sinker comes second with an 18% whiff percentage, 8% put away. The fastball puts away more batters. The opposing batting average, by the way, let me see if I can find it here. Sinkers hit a lot, though. It's hitting 357 as one, and it's kind of a worrying factor, but it's not because it is one of his more commonly thrown pitches. The slider, oh boy, 0.045 is the batting average against the slider this year. His fastball is also a little more hittable, 269. As I mentioned, he does give up a decent amount of hits. So again, I'm still up on Chafin, but if you want power, you're going with Gregory Soto.
And then review Michael Fulmer for us.
All right. So Michael Fulmer, obviously a transformed starter to reliever. Let me just pull this up real quick. Michael Fulmer, as you mentioned, is now pretty much their closer, so we don't know if they will get rid of him. In the Baseball Savant percentile rankings, he's mostly in the reds and the little whites, so he's either great or average or possibly good. Let's see. Let's go down a little bit. He has a slider, he has a curveball, a sinker, and a fastball and a changeup. So his most commonly used pitch is the slider at 64%. Coming in second is the sinker ball pitcher. Now, these three, as I mentioned, are all sinker ball pitchers. Chaffee, Fulmer, and Soto. The Yankees love their sinker ball pitchers, as I mentioned. Clay Holmes and Wandy Peralta often use that sinker ball. Let's move down to the most commonly hit pitches, which is not. The whiff percentage, the highest, comes with the changeup. It is, but you have to keep in mind the sample size. He's only thrown about 31 changeups this year, and it's around 44%. But if you want to be on balanced, the 35.5% whiff percentage on the four-seam fastball is the highest if you want to go by sample size, but the slider is the most heaviest pitch in Fulmer's arsenal, 32.1% whiff percentage and a 26.3% put away percentage, along with an opposing batting average of 152, a slugging percentage of 215. So he's really dominant with that slider. He can put you away with that. Throws it about 64% of the time. So yeah, he throws it more commonly also to the right-handed hitters. He's pretty much throwing it away from the batter. So there's that. So you know what? When it comes to the pitchers now, I really got to look at these statistics. They kind of impress me because you know what? Again, we come on here saying we hate the baseball savant, we hate the baseball analytics, all the new age stuff, but these are like the advanced stats I really like.
Talking Luca. With that being said, though, yeah,
would you like to hear his expected batting average?
No. With that being said, however, you have sold me on Gregory Soto as one of the better relievers. There's Scott Barlow. There's Lance Bednar.
Would you like to hear his StatCast? Oh, by the way, the Yankees are interested in Bednar.
The Pirates are not giving him up, though.
I disagree. I heard some reports that he's going to be shopped around quite a bit. So what do you want to hear next, Scott Barlow or David Bednar?
Well, we'll go to those two in just a second. But what is now this is something to think about. What's the most you would give up for one of those three pitchers from the Detroit Tigers, knowing that some of them are free agents next year? They're young.
I'd say similar, in my opinion, to a Benintendi package, since some of them might be rentals. I'd say like a B or C prospect, maybe like somebody who could start immediately, like a Florio and Duhar, maybe a Peraza. We'll see. So not a lot of them. Let me double check this real quick. I know you said that Fulmer's close to being a free agent. I'm going to double check on that. Michael Fulmer.
Fulmer is a free agent next year.
Yes. Let's check Andrew Chaffee. I can look this up. Chaffee is a free agent in 2024, but he does have an opt-out available after this year, so he can opt into $6.5 million. For Gregory Soto, one of their younger pitchers, you have a ton of control on him, man. Arbitration 1, 2, and 3, 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026 is when he's first hitting free agency. So if you want control, Soto is that guy.
That's the other Soto we need to talk about.
Yes, Gregory Soto.
But yeah, I agree with you in terms of the package for those type of guys. We'll go into Scott Marlowe and we'll go into
David Bednar.
I thought it was Lance Bednar.
David Bednar.
Okay, maybe I got mixed up. But David Bednar, Scott Barlow, and then we'll talk about Brian Reynolds a little bit, and then we'll start closing out.
Yeah. So MLB percentile rankings for Scott Barlow, they love him on Baseball Savant, mostly in the red, in the darker red. Usually that means good or great statistics. So let's go down to some of his pitches. Slider, that's his primary. Curveball, fastball, and sinker. He's only thrown one sinker this year. So let's go down. Let's see which most pitch is unhittable. Which pitch is the least hittable? So he throws the slider about 44% of the time, and which it is produces a whiff percentage of 29.9%, nearing 30%. The batting average is 191. The slugging percentage is 294. The put away percentage is 18.8. However, the curveball is a little more effective. 27% put away percentage, 42% whiff percentage, opposing average 115, slugging percentage 213. This commonly is thrown on the curveball. The curveball is commonly thrown on the left-handed batters. For the slider, it's commonly thrown on the right-handed batters. So you're thinking away, away, away. The four-seam fastball, thrown a little less common, but he still throws it a lot. 23.5% of the time he throws it. Batting average is 371, which is, again, he's getting beat on his third best pitch. Slugging percentage 600, 11.4% whiff percentage. So, again, it's not his primary pitch. It's his third best option. So there's not too much concern there. I still like Barrow, even from the basic stats. But if you could get a trade for Benintendi and Barlow, I'm all in.
I agree.
He's also in the top 8 percentage in hard hit percentage.
Yeah, no, that's probably one of my favorite stats right there. That's all sarcasm. And then we go to Bednar.
David Bednar. So let's see how they rank him. Mostly good, I'd say, around average to good. Not a lot of great stuff, some bad. Bednar, obviously pitching for the Pirates, was drafted by the Padres. So his numbers this year, his strikeout percentage, by the way, is top 6% in the league. 33% strikeout percentage of his hitters. But he does get hard hit a lot, 46.8%, which is bottom of the league. Same with the exit velo, bottom 8 of the league. Four-seam fastball is his primary pitch. He also introduces a curveball and a split-finger fastball. So pitch percentage will go with the first four-seam fastball. That's who he throws more commonly. Whiff percentage, 32.6% and 26.1% put away percentage. 253 on the fastball. Not a big fan of that since that is his primary pitch. Usually you don't want to get beat on your best pitch a lot. Maybe the stats are a little bit skewed since he's pitching for a piss poor team. Slugging percentage, 432. Let's see. The 50 used 54.8% of the time. 231 usually used against the righties rather than the lefties. So there's that. Not a big fan of how hard he's hit on the four-seamer. Curveball, second most used pitch, 28.5% of the time. 40.3% whiff rate, a little higher than the fastball. Same with the put-away percentage, 31%. Now this is hit less. 171 batting average against, 286 slugging percentage. And I think we could call it that for David Bednar. What are your thoughts? Let me introduce the split finger fastball. Use 16% of the time, 154 batting average against, 171 expected batting average, 179 slugging, and you also have the put away percentage of 29.8, which is higher than the four seamer, not bigger than the curveball percentage. Same with the 31.9%, which is actually the lowest whiff rate out of all of his pitches if you want to compare the numbers particularly. So Bednar seems like a good, maybe the stats are skewed again because he's pitching for a piss poor team, but those are your stats for Bednar. Alex, you're muted.
I'll take Barlow and Soto. I'll take Barlow and Soto. Soto by himself, maybe Barlow and Benintendi, the Killer Bees. With Fulmer being probably second, Chaffee maybe being third, and fourth being Bednar. Maybe you could mix and match Chaffee. But what are your thoughts on the Yankees apparently nonstop calling the Pirates about Brian Reynolds?
It's very interesting because I didn't see this coming. Honestly, like I knew the Yankees were probably interested. I think they were interested in maybe in the offseason. Not having the best year for his standards, but I think he's going to rebound. I really do.
I think he's going to rebound, and that shouldn't, people say, oh, he's having his worst year. Yeah, but he's better than Aaron Hicks. He's better than Joey Gallo. I mean, I think
here's the thing. He's the first option on a piss poor Pirates team. Probably you could say he's like their best hitter. But I will also say once he's coated by Judge, LeMahieu, Stanton, whoever you want to put, Rizzo, that's going to make him a lot better, putting better guys around him.
And he's a predominantly center fielder, right?
Yeah.
So
He's also a
Judge's
switch hitting
legs,
bat.
right? So Judge's legs won't have to face too much wear and tear. Play Stanton in the outfield when you have to. And let me say this: everybody's on Twitter clowning. Oh well, Stanton got hurt because of the All-Star game and him playing in the outfield. That's bullshit. Okay, he fucked it up in my opinion in the Houston series. This guy, let's be real, has had injuries over the course of his career. So let's not say, oh, well, if it was a home run derby, different story. But it was the All-Star game, and that was fine for him. Same thing can be said with, him playing the outfield over the course of the year. I have no problem with that. That's what he needs to do. And you don't want to be playing, once again, Hicks and LeCastro extra days more than you have to. So if you trade for Soto, you trade for Benintendi, you trade for Reynolds in center, Judge in right, Stanton in left, mix and match. It's not that hard. But yeah, I'm actually pretty surprised that the Yankees have reportedly nonstop called the Pirates, but it's just
especially
also,
that it might surmount a big return.
Right. And maybe you could package him with Bednar, package him with a different reliever. But also, once again, it comes down to the other trades and also, I would say qualifications for the other trades of how much you're going to give up. But you would definitely have to give up Peraza. Dominguez would be in that trade as well. I don't know if it would count Volpe, but if Volpe was asked for,
I don't think they're going to ask for like the top 3 prospects. Maybe you'll have to give up 1 or 2, but not like 3.
No, I mean not 3. But if they did say okay, Volpe, then I would give him up. If it's a package of Bednar and Reynolds, because once again, Roz kind of convinced me. Shout out to Ross Thompson, by the way. He was talking with me when we were just standing around after the interview and the pictures and stuff. He's like, dude, I've seen it for many years. These prospects don't mean shit. So you know what? If they trade Volpe to the Pirates, if they trade Volpe to the Nationals, that's it's not my concern. I know a lot of people have been mad at me for my views on that, but I don't care. What was I going to say? So, do we have anything else on the baseball subject before we get into our final?
I remember we're going to make predictions on the terms of the biggest names on the market.
Okay, so do you want to save that for last, or do you want me to just go into the story?
We'll go into it right now. How about that? And then we'll end off the story.
Okay, so who do you think the Yankees will get at the deadline?
Let me just name some like outside free agents. Not free agents, biggest names. I think Juan Soto is going to the Dodgers. I don't think the Yankees are getting it. I don't think the Mets are getting him. Let's see. Wilson Contreras, I think he's going to be a Met. I think David Robertson is going to be a Met. Let's see. Brian Reynolds, I think he'll go elsewhere. I do think Benintendi ends up being a Yankee. Same with Andrew Chafin. Not Andrew Chafin, Scott Barlow, because they like his numbers a lot. Castillo, I think he'll be a Yankee because he's probably in the running. The Yankees are willing to include Peraza in that deal. That's how I see it. I think it's going to be not Volpe, Benintendi, Barlow, and Castillo. That's going to be the deadline. And I would be very happy with that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Benintendi and Castillo too, not to, go with your thing. Obviously, we try to differentiate, but when we agree, we agree. I think it's going to be Benintendi. I think it's going to be Castillo. Could they get Barlow? It's definitely on the table. They also, I feel like they have another relief pitcher that nobody's talking about. Maybe, maybe not.
Josh something on the
okay
Royals. So, Josh Staumont.
That's another name. So maybe it's not Barlow, it's Staumont, but they could also go into another trade and go get a guy like Gregory Soto, give up, B and C prospects for him. I mean, I wouldn't expect much of a giveaway in that. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, that's a deadline you can ask for. That's a deadline that would be a win, at least in my book, for the New York Yankees, and would get them very much closer to the Houston Astros, despite the records being different and the Yankees really being in front, of course, there. So anyway, we have story time. I know some of you tuned in to the Boys in the Big Apple podcast on Monday for the story, and we gave some detail. Pete gave a vague emphasis on the story. It gave vague detail. Summary, basically. But I do want to go into a little bit of detail for some people who didn't see it. So we left the Somerset Patriots game, and, it was nice. The interview with Sparky Lyle, even though they kept playing the music fucking too loud. And we couldn't hear him a lot, but I heard the answer to my question, which was most important. So we leave the game, 5th, 6th inning. We have to because, it's 100 degrees outside, A. B, with that being said, a lot of places in Jersey close early. So we go to this place called the Gasolinas, whatever the fuck it's called. And it's an Italian restaurant.
Gasolinas. I still find that funny.
I don't even know what its name is. I don't care. So we go in. We're like, okay, table for 9.
Girasol,
whatever. So the woman's like, we're not seating outside. Basically turned us away. And apparently she didn't have a nice attitude. Meanwhile, 3 people walked in after us, and they got seats. We didn't have a reservation, so apparently that was why we were kicked. We weren't kicked, but we weren't let in. We weren't sat down and served. So next restaurant, which was number 1 Bar and Grill, number 1 supposedly.
What did it look like, Alex, to you?
It looked like somebody's house. It looked like a shack
with a cellar.
With a cellar. So, Joe and Donald go in, or Francis and Donald go in, and then they open the door. Like, shut the door. The AC's on. In a very nasty tone. So
Donald detailed like it was like you're a cowboy going into a saloon and they're all looking at you funny.
Yeah. So they're waving us back. We're like, okay, take 2. Now it's going to be take 3. So we go to this restaurant.
22 Tap Bar and Grill.
22 Tap Bar and Grill closes at 8 o'clock, which is typical fucking Jersey. And with that being said, we get sat down, and the host is like, well, you better order soon within the next 3 minutes because we close at 8. So we sit down, we're thinking over our orders, but we're like, do we really want to get rushed? I feel bad for the waiter because he was actually very nice, and he was trying to, get us to sit down and relax. But of course, we were going to be rushed out of there, and that's not how I want to go about the rest of my night. So we all left.
Alex, what did you say? What did you think the sign said?
Enjoy tits. So, with that being said, Joe gets on the phone with Maggiano's, and he's like, hi, table for 9. Do you have availability? We're going to be there in like 2 minutes. She goes, oh, do you want a reservation? He goes, no, we're going to be there soon. So either she didn't understand him or Joe was being Joe. And he's like, either we come now or we don't come at all. And I believe she hung up the phone on him. At least if I'm getting that correctly. So Joe was being Joe. I thought it was funny.
We all died laughing.
Yep. And then Luca calls up Mama Rosina's. And then they say, okay, table for 9. We have seating. So we go there. It's near a construction site. There was a train station behind it. So it looked really weird.
We must, again, it was the Bound Brook train station. We must have passed it on the way to Somerset.
Yeah. So we go in, and the place just irked us. For some reason.
Joe, I remember Joe walking in. He was like, what are we in church?
It was like very dim lighting. So we get sat down, and then there's this bitch waitress with the waters, and she's like, excuse me, like that's the way you talk to
First
people.
of all, the table was sticky.
Yeah, the table was sticky.
And water was spilled when she was, doing the filling up the cups. So
yeah. So, I'm thinking to myself, do you kiss your father with that mouth? So there's that. But we order drinks, guy comes over, whatever. We get the bread, and Pete said it was stale. I'm like, that's probably shit they buy at ShopRite. So the place started irking us, and we had to wait.
People were staring at us, by the way.
Yeah.
I remember there was like an old couple like sitting over there, like in the corner, just looking at us. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, what are you looking at? So Luca, what'd you say about the bathroom and how the place looked, about the Sopranos and whatever?
First of all, the place inside looked like a Sopranos meeting place. It looked like where Johnny Sack and Carmine and Lubertazzi discussed their deals in like their little meeting place in New York. And when I walked into the bathroom a little later on, Alex will get to the later part of the story. I felt when I went into the hallway, you have the women's bathroom on the left, you have the men's bathroom on the right. The lighting of the hallway made it look like the bathroom from The Godfather, where Michael Corleone grabs the gun from behind the toilet and goes out and kills McCluskey and Sollozzo. And they, by the way, in the bathroom, they did not have soap. Or at least they ran out of it.
So I eat some of the ShopRite bread. And then Joe's like, I don't know if I want to order what I want to order. So anyway,
I think Francis felt the same way.
Francis felt the same way, who was sitting next to me. Francis was. And then the guy comes over. Francis is like, skip me. Joe's like, skip me. And he's like, you know what? I'll come back. I'm very busy right now. I got other people. And Jaira, Pete's fiance, is like, you know what? You cancel that order. We just want our check. And we were about to blitz the hell out of there. So
before we got whacked. Yes. So we get the check. She writes in it, you need customer service lessons. You're very rude. So we go outside and we're like, you know what? Should we go somewhere else? Should we just split up? And I really wanted to stay among the group, but also if they were going to split, I'd be like, you know what? We're going to go to the Perfect Pint in the city. Matt and his brother will join us. Donald will be with us. And that's pretty much that. So we're discussing. And then Pete brings up the restaurant at the hotel they're staying at. So with that being said, we were talking about, okay, so he's about to make the phone call and the guy comes out, the manager comes out with the check and he's like, I don't appreciate this. You're not welcome back in my business. So I start tapping Pete like this. And he turns around and he goes, you got some fucking balls, you cocksucker. And he's just screaming at him. Jaira and Joe were holding him back. I called the guy a cocksucker. I flipped the guy off. I was proud of that moment.
Yep, we flipped the guy off. And, what was it?
And I think Don and Matt's like, I was like, Matt, get in the car. And Matt told us later on, he's like, I thought that guy was going to pull out a gun.
Imagine we got whacked. And then the guy went back inside. I called him a cocksucker. I said, your Italian food is so bad. Joey Gallo likes it. Then when Pete was calling the hotel, he was like this right at the restaurant. And then the cooks were outside. So Francis told him what happened. Basically, he's like, your manager fucked up. This guy's known on YouTube. And they were nice. But to be real, if your cooks got time to stand outside smoking and you got time to come outside and yell at us about how you don't appreciate something, then you have time to wait for our orders to come in.
You're a waiter.
That's literally in your job. So to end the story off, we went to the hotel they were staying at. They checked in. It was very secluded though. It was weird to get to, but the food was good for hotel restaurant food. We had a nice time, talked about business, and really had a good time. But Luca, final thoughts on, all of this and whatnot.
Listen, by the time we'll be live next episode. We'll be sure of that. But the next time we'll be on air, the deadline will be gone. And the Yankees may or may not have new additions. I'm interested to see what they do. They have to make moves.
Yep. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Turn on the notification bell so when game season, live podcasts, live chats are live. Also new videos like this one. But we appreciate you guys. And till next time, peace.
Later.
Before it hits the front page.